Hi everyone, today we are going to go over the 5 easiest blockchain use cases to implement. Now, not including cryptocurrency, okay? These are business blockchain use cases that are the easiest thing to use because they take advantage of the things that the blockchain does the best. So if you're in a situation where you want to get started using blockchain, but you want to choose a project that isn't going to be so ridiculously difficult that you're never going to get it done, these 5 business blockchain use cases are a really good place to start because they really provide a good building block for other projects that you might want to do later down the line. So there's a couple of things that are common among all of these use cases. They all use something that the business blockchain is good at, and they all avoid the things that the blockchain is terrible at. So I've got some prerequisite videos out there about different types of technologies that are used in the blockchain. If you get to the point where you don't understand some concepts in these use cases, I recommend that you review those videos. In the meantime, please hit the subscribe button below, hit like, write any comments of anything you'd like to see in other videos. So let's get started looking at these use cases. So the number one that I like the best, and it's something that I started with right away, which is proof of authenticity. Now, if you look at the blockchain is a distributed ledger protected by consensus that has immutable transactions. And what that means is that once a transaction has been written, it can't be deleted or changed. So if you write something to the immutable ledger, you can go back later and you can be sure that whatever you wrote to that ledger is still there and it has not been changed. So one of the things we talk about in other videos is cryptographic hashing, and that's taking a fingerprint of a document or of a data set so that you know that that document or data set hasn't been tampered with. So the blockchain, because it provides this tamper-proof ledger, and we have these hashes that prove the document is authentic, the document themselves don't need to be stored on the blockchain. Now, one of the things we always talk about the blockchain being terrible at is storing data. The blockchain makes a terrible database. So in this case, because of cryptographic hashing, we can store these hashes of this data on the blockchain. So we're not storing a ton of data on the blockchain, and we're still using the blockchain for what it's good for. So the other thing that this does for proof of authenticity is it provides a timestamp. So if you're creating something like a compliance ledger where I'm supposed to have a certain set of documents and I'm supposed to have them at a certain point in time, what you can do is you can get those documents, you can create a hash of them, which is the digital fingerprint, and then you post them to the blockchain. Now, the second they're posted to the blockchain, they're there and they're recorded that you complied with those documents at that point in time. So the timestamp is an extra important thing when you're talking about compliance and you're talking about managing this proof of authenticity. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can also have different versions of documents, and this would allow you to prove that each document has been recorded as it stood at the different points in time. Now, in this case, I recommend using a public blockchain. We have an API at Tritanium that we use that's perfect for this, where we just, you post these transactions to the blockchain, and then they're protected as being part of the public blockchain. So it creates that immutable ledger. On to number 2. Workflow management and digital signatures. Now, I have a video out there related to digital signatures. And digital signatures are really important in blockchain because they're a core technology of the blockchain, but they also provide a very interesting use case. So let's go back to example number 1. We have these documents. Well, we prove that the document's authentic, that the document that we put on the blockchain is the document we put on the blockchain. But what if we have several people who need to sign off on that document? Well, that's where digital signatures come in. We can have groups of people who need to sign a document using asymmetric encryption, digital signatures, and along with this hashing, we can actually know that these documents have been signed. What digital signatures do is they use proof of authenticity to validate the data, but then they use digital signatures to provide authentication and non-repudiation. Now, what non-repudiation means is you can't later on say you didn't sign it. So a simple use of something like this is meeting minutes. I can't tell you how often I've been in meetings where somebody in the meeting agreed to something and then a week later says, I didn't agree to that. I wasn't even there. So non-repudiation is a big part of digital signatures. It's a big part of workflow management. It's definitely something that makes a lot of sense as a blockchain application. On to number 3, notifications. And when I say notifications, I mean something like an advanced shipment notification. Now, if you look at how wallets work on the blockchain, if I'm going to transfer Bitcoin from one person to another, what I'm doing is I post a transaction onto the blockchain using my wallet, and then the next time their wallet is active, they get a notification that they received a transaction. The same thing can happen with the business blockchain for documents or for things like advanced shipment notifications. So let's just go back and look at our previous 2 use cases and then add notifications to it. So let's say I am shipping a load of tomatoes to a processor, and I create a bill of lading, and then I digitally sign it. And then I put it on the blockchain using the technologies of the blockchain so that it is automatically there. So when the recipient of that shipment sees their wallet attaches to the blockchain, then they see the advanced shipment notification and they have access to that document immediately. So this is a great way. Think of the blockchain like Post-it notes. It's just a great way to do notifications across different parties who are not part of the same organization. So the blockchain was basically built for posting transactions and notifying recipients. So it's a great use case, and it works with the other 2 use cases that we've already talked about. So the way you can implement this use case is it's a simple process using wallets and APIs. So we're not introducing a bunch of new technologies. We're not even using smart contracts for this at this point because there's nothing about the, let's say, the advanced shipping notification that we're trying to validate. We're just trying to get it there, kind of like sending a Post-it note or putting a clip on a clothesline and then sending it down the line. It's a simple way. It's something that the blockchain is really good at. So an enhancement to that, and one step further, is document and data transfer. Now this kind of combines 1, 2, and 3. So we have these documents. We can prove they're authentic using hashing and the immutable ledger. We can use digital signatures to sign them, and then we can notify people when they're there. Now the other important thing is the word transfer is kind of something that's misused. We always hear, I'm going to put something on the blockchain. Well, really, you almost never put anything on the blockchain. The scenario is more like the document or the data set is prepared, and then it's hashed and it's signed, and then the transaction is posted to the blockchain. Now, when the recipient receives the notification, they've got the validation information, and they get notified where the data set or the document is located, and then they just go out and grab it. Now, if you want to build a more complicated use case, which in this case makes a lot of sense, you might add cloud storage to the mix. But the bottom line is document and data transfer is a really good use case to get started on the blockchain. And then number 5, history logs. Now, think of a history log. I'll take a simple example like sign-in sheets at an office building. Let's say we've got 15 guard posts at a set of office buildings, and we just want to know everybody who signed in and signed out, and we want to keep a permanent log of that. Well, blockchain creates history logs perfectly because of the way blockchain supports an unlimited number of assets. Think of an asset like a coin. You can create as many of these assets as you want, and the way the asset transfer is handled and data is recorded on the blockchain, we can create a log of everything that happens to that asset. So each asset is kind of treated like its own ledger. And when I say ledger, I mean like an account within a ledger. And it's very simple. It's something that you can do with APIs and wallets again, but it's something that is a great use case again to get started with the blockchain. So what's common about what we've talked about so far? They all do things that the blockchain handles well. Okay, they all have very simple user interfaces. We're not building this. Another thing that's common is these use cases have all been done. So what I recommend you do is subscribe to this channel, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do code walkthroughs. I'm going to do design walkthroughs on all 5 of these use cases coming up as soon as possible. Hopefully, possibly by the time you see this video, those use cases will already be out there. But these are really good places to get started with blockchain. It's a good place to just get your feet wet, not too hard of a challenge, learn things you don't know. Blockchain is all about finding out the things that you don't know. So again, I hope you found this useful. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments section. Make sure you hit subscribe to the channel so you're notified of all the new stuff that's coming up. And I look forward to seeing you next time.